Somaliland was part of Somalia colonized by Britain, and the rest of Somalia was colonized by Italy. So this is the only difference. We are the same ethnic group, we share the same language, the same religion, the same way of life. The only difference we have is you were colonized by Britain, we were colonized by Italy. And that is not an identity. We believe.
This is the most idiotic reading of history and completely false. First of all, Somalia, that name existed only after the, Italy have governed the parts of what we call Somalia today. It was called Somalia Italiana. Okay, so then they kept that Somalia part. It's not in Somali language to say Somalia. The history of this name actually was the land of Somali, which is what we call Somaliland today. Arabs used to trade with the shore in Somaliland from Zayla all the way to Las Qore, and they used to trade with these ports. And he used to call the land of Somalia because Arabs, everything they call the land of, so and so. And then, after that, you had the Ottoman Empire who ruled, Berbera and Zayla. And they kept the name, Ard al-Somal, land of the Somali. At that time, Mogadishu and the surrounding areas never spoke Somali. And they were never named Somalia, therefore. And you will see this in the map. Don't just take my words for it. Google the maps. Go all the way, to the 14th century, 16th century, and you will see this. It was called the Ajam or the Ajan, which means, the non-Arabs, meaning they are, unknowns. This is what they were called. And in terms of the political reality, it was these areas before colonization, they were separate. I won't say they were, they had existing divisions. There's no concept of division. These are different societies. Somalia, what we call Somalia today, was under the Oman Arab Empire. And Somaliland was under, as I said, the Ottoman Empire. And that's how, Britain came to the picture, because they took all those territories that were held by the Ottoman Empire in Egypt and Sudan, and Somaliland followed that. Obviously through treaties and different mechanisms, while Italy, took over by purchasing land from the Arab Omani who ruled Mogadishu and the surrounding areas. Okay, so this is, Hasan thinks that, there was Somali kingdom, one political group that, Europeans came and divided. That's not true. Okay, you can even look at the map today and you can see Western Somaliland from Port-Arthur, Hargeisa to Berbera to Borama. These are the center of civilization or, density in Somaliland. And these areas have been, exposed to Yemen, exposed to Ethiopia, and you can see the distances are very much closer to each other than from Somaliland or from Hargeisa to Mogadishu. There are deserts, there are huge geography between the two. We're talking about, hundreds of years ago, there were no cars, there were no planes. These people didn't know each other at all. So to claim they were one and they were one entity is completely false. And I want to stress that how, that different geography created different people in sense of political sense and also in value system. So in the political sense, Somalilanders were exposed for millennia with the Greeks and the ancient Egyptians, the Arabs, the Ethiopians, and even the Persians, China. Like Somalia had some of that, but not to the same degree. This is an old place that had interactions with the world, and that's why you can see Somalilanders are quite flexible in terms of dealing with different religions and societies. You can see right here in X. We don't have this notion of Somali solidarity and that, Somali people are more special. And it's funny looking at the reality of the political reality of Somalia to think so. But hey, Somalians or nationalists believe that. And even internally, Somaliland, the composition of the clans, it's just made in a way that there's no dominant clan. Like you have 5 treaties that had been signed between Britain and these clans. There was no one clan that says, "Hey, I'm the boss here." All these clans, none of them can dominate the other, and that gave a sense of egalitarian, in the way these people act. And every Somalilander feels, we are equal. Today I'm the president, you're the president tomorrow. By all means, if you win the elections, you will rule. Okay, so there's this understanding that, if our clan leaders made a peace deal, we all have to follow that. Somalia doesn't have that, right? Even within the clan, there is a democracy within the clan itself. So a sub clan will sit under the tree, and every male or participant will stand up and give his opinion, and people will listen to him regardless of what rank he has, right? The true egalitarian society. That translated easily to the democracy you see in Somaliland. That's why no surprise Somaliland is one of the most democratic countries in that region. There's clear political culture difference here, that shaped through millennia of different interactions, and then how the clan composition, and how Somalia hasn't tried to downplay around more than 70 years of colonialism in Somalia. Italy was trying to inherit Somalia. People don't understand, like, the plan of colonization wasn't to really temporarily be there. They wanted to really rule that place, take it forever. And you see how, Italian married Somalians there, and there's a whole generation of mixed race. It's wholly different story than what happened in Somaliland, where you have a very indirect rule. Britain were only considered, dealing with the external affairs of the protectorate. There were at the time not more than 100 people there from Britain living in Somaliland. You understand what I mean? Like, it's almost as if, it was one of the most lightest. You can argue Somaliland wasn't colonized even in that real sense. So that created different cultures and values. And for Somaliland, actually not a different culture, but it means it just being different all the time. It's not like, they were the same, then colonization changed them. No, Somaliland has been different from Somalia, and it just maintained that culture. And Somalia continued its trend of domination. Everyone is trying to dominate the other. The clans are dominating each other, the political groups, the religious group. And that doesn't exist in Somaliland. So this difference in political culture makes it hard that they cannot share the same political system. I'm not saying this is the way you define countries, but if we want to be practical, we already tried this. And then here's the most sad and more dark side of this. It's not just political culture in the civic discourse, but also in the culture of war and peace. In Somaliland, when clans fight, it doesn't extend to killing the innocent women and children. In Somalia, it includes that. It's okay to rape and to play with the body of the deceased. In Somaliland, that is not our culture. That there was no recorded incidents of that. In Somalia, you saw what they did to the American dead body there, or even between the clans, they will cut and make horrible things against human rights. Yeah, and then you have the biggest of all, the biggest crime, which is the Isak genocide. That was the complete shock, right, for Somalilanders, because just bombarding the whole city and killing everyone. This is taking it to the next level, to the state level of barbarism. They took what they were doing, clans level, and then they made it on a state level and tried to wipe out the whole population. And that meant, we don't have, not in just theory, but in practice, we are not compatible. And the idea to really even entertain trying this again is disrespectful to Somaliland's, history and what they have been gone through. Hasan Sheikh, by the way, is pro Siad Barre. Like, this is like another difference. In Somaliland, we see Siad Barre regime as, an evil regime that we got rid of, and it's part of our pride that we did. Hasan Sheikh sees, it was wrong that we fought Siad Barre. He thinks like, oh, we wish we go back to the glorious days. That's how he views it. So these are, like, imagine there's nothing in common. The question is then, are we the same people? Just show me what's common. Language, Arabs have 20 countries and they have single language. Australia and New Zealand have the same language and culture, more than Somaliland and Somalia, and it's different countries, and so on. Like language and culture and even religion, this is declaring you're a Muslim, but then your actions and the way your culture accepts certain things doesn't mean we have the same way of, how Islam affects or, shapes our, value system. In Somaliland, deceiving, lying, stealing can never be seen as, great or something smart to do. In Somalia, in some places, and in some subcultures, it is. You will see a lot of people defending piracy. Somalilanders, there's no single event of piracy in Somaliland. There's no single event of terrorism in Somaliland against our values. Okay, you don't steal, you don't lie. If you're a liar, you are less of a man. Okay, you have to be a man of your word. Yeah, we have this old culture about what manhood means in Somaliland, and all these things are, things that harms a man's character, and that's very important. And it comes just from being a very conservative society, and with not an extreme version of Islam, the Sufi that came from Yemen and from Harar, right? Our relationship with Ethiopia is very sophisticated. It's not just trade, it's war, and even religious influence. Somalia has none of that. There's no recorded history of fight between Somalia, what's known as Somalia, and the Ethiopian Empire. None of that. They don't even reach. There are deserts between them. Okay? But with Somaliland, all the Aden Sultanate, even the 77 war was mostly between Somaliland, population and Ethiopia. So you have to understand that having different neighbors, different history, different rulers, and different geography just leads to different people. This superficial narrative, same language, same culture, same ethnic, is laughable. Like the Maasai in Africa are divided between Kenya and Tanzania. Africa, what Hasan Sheikh is making, less of, the colonial boundaries, is actually important. This is how Africa countries are defined. And in the case of Somaliland, the colonialism just followed natural boundaries, I would say, between Somaliland and Somalia that existed for millennia. They just followed that because themselves, it will be harder for them to rule from Mogadishu to Hargeisa and this different society. That's complex for a colony. Okay, for them even this is a headache. And to force this headache on us today is unfair. And that's why we're calling for Somaliland recognition. And the first thing we will do, we'll change the name because we are also confusing the rest of the world. Really, when we say Somaliland or Somalia, really, what are we doing? Like, it's very confusing. It's like France and Franceland for someone who, not from Europe. It's like, what do you mean? They should be the same. If they are not the same. The name is kind of suggesting that these should be one. We have to stop this. We have to change this. And we have to tell our stories.